but I think the G track is going. How's it going, guys? I guess some very sad news. Derwin James will be out for 10 weeks, according to the NFL. So, yeah, so he ended up fracturing his right foot. He's out for 10 games, 10 weeks, and the recovery process is going to be 3 to 4 months. But you always want to, I don't know how to say it, you always want to kind of assume the worst. So we don't want to be assuming that he's only going to be gone for 7 or 8 weeks. We want to hope. I mean, I don't want to hope he's gone for 10 weeks, but it's better for him to come back when he's fully healthy. So, hi, Dale. What's up, Jacob? So, yeah, why I'm frustrated for the Chargers is because this is one of those years where you feel like they have the team to make the Super Bowl. And it's always like that. They always have a team that looks on paper that's going to win the whole thing. And like always, every time they always look like they're Super Bowl contenders, someone always gets hurt. It's been like this all of Philip Rivers' career. So I don't know if he's the bad luck. I mean, I love Philip Rivers, but he's just, I don't know. This team's always plagued with the injuries, and that's something of the game that you can't really get mad about because injuries happen. It happens to anyone. So how are the Chargers going to replace all pro safety Derwin James? And that's a hard question because you can't replace Derwin James. He's just one of the best safeties in the league. I know he's only played one NFL season and he made the all pro team for a reason. And our secondary is pretty stacked. Like we have a great pass rush. Joey Bosa hopefully he's healthy this year. Melvin Ingram hopefully he's healthy this year. But having a pretty powerful pass rush is going to help the secondary because they don't have to cover for so long, and you can start bringing blitzes. So you're doubling Joey Bosa on one side. That opens up the gate for Melvin Ingram on the other side. It opens up the gate for safety blitzes. Derwin James was so good last year as safety blitzes. And Gus Bradley's defense coming from Seattle, Gus Bradley's defense is really good at blitzing, at safeties, at playing safeties in different positions. So, like I was saying, it's hard for the Chargers to adjust without him because Adrian Phillips, I mean, how are they going to replace his productivity? You have Desmond King, who's an all-pro slot corner who would probably be moved to safety. It's going to be hard for him because he's a smaller guy. Like Desmond King, he's fast. He could cover slot receivers, but is he going to be able to fill in the hole against the run? Is he going to be able to blitz on the outside? It's probably going to be Adrian Phillips that's going to be playing more of a role of Derwin James, but then you're going to take away from Adrian Phillips' strengths. So that's the thing that sucks for the Chargers defense. I mean, like we said, like hopefully it's not too serious. I mean, it's going to be gone for 10 weeks. So if the Chargers end up, I don't know, making a good run by the time he comes back, because it comes down to the schedule and winning the division. Because again, the Chargers not going to go on the road every single time like they did last year. That was the problem. That we had to go on the road every single game in order to make a Super Bowl run. And if you can't even win your division, winning a Super Bowl is so hard. So, I mean, when we look at our division, of course, we want to look at the Broncos. That's not the biggest issue. The Broncos are going to be pretty bad this year. They still don't have a quarterback, or even if they do, it's going to take time for them to adjust. Their defense is pretty solid, but their offense is not there. Then we have, of course, the Colts. Let's look at the regular season schedule, and I'll be going over this regular season schedule to see what the likely outcome of these games. Let me get my phone real quick to look at the schedule. So, like I was saying, oh shit, if he just does, James is such a great player. He's one of the best safeties in the league, if not, I don't want to say the best, but he's definitely top three with Jamal Adams. So how is this going to affect the Chargers? Like I was saying, I mean, if you just joined us, you can't replace him because he's such a good, such a well-rounded safety, and it's going to be hard for anyone to replace. So safety. Give me a second. So yeah. Okay. So let's look at the Chargers schedule. Right now, we still have 3 preseason games. We have the Saints, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. And that's actually good that we still have 3 preseason games because it gives Gus Bradley, it gives Anthony Lynn a chance to move players around, see how Desmond King's going to be able to fill in those gaps, see how anybody like Adrian Phillips or not Janoris Jenkins, whatever his name is. It's. I mean, you can't cope without Derwin James, but the Chargers do have a pretty solid offense, and you're gonna have to require you to score a lot of points. So the first game is gonna be critical. I'm actually gonna be going to the first game versus the Colts on September 8th. So if you're going to September 8th, let me know in the comments if you're going to the first Chargers game against the Colts. Then we have week 2 at the Lions. That's on the road. I'm not afraid of the Lions, but Matthew Stafford in that dome he's all his career, all he does is put up yards. So you're gonna have to stop the passing attack, and the pass rush better get there because it's gonna be tough. The Then you come home again against the Texans, and we don't have a huge home field advantage. And the Texans are a sleeper team. Like the Texans have a pretty solid team. They have a good offense. You have Watson, who's going to come back on his third season, maybe even better. You have one of the best receivers in the league, and you have Will Fuller, who's also a great receiver. So that's going to be a tough test, especially against that defense too. Like our offense is not going to just put up points. You have JJ Watt, who's arguably top 3 pass rusher, maybe one of the best defensive players of all time. Then you have David Clowney. So this defense is going to be solid to play against. Then you're at the Miami Dolphins, and I could definitely see that as a win. You come home versus the Broncos, you could definitely win that game as well. Then you have a primetime game against the Steelers at home. That's a tough game. We still don't know how the Steelers are going to look without Antonio Brown. Is Juju Smith-Schuster going to be good enough? Is what's his name? Ben Roethlisberger still going to be solid? I don't know. We don't know. But as far as that, it's going to be hard for the Chargers to play Steelers. Then you're at Tennessee, a very winnable game, but again, they're a playoff team. They have Marcus Mariota. They have a good passing game. They have a solid defense. This is one of those old school teams like you don't want to watch Tennessee play, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's just a hard game to win in the NFL, especially on the road in late October. Then you have the Bears at the Bears. Like at the Bears is tough just because it's the Chicago Bears defense is solid. Khalil Mack, when they have just a young, hungry defense. Mitch Trubisky, we don't know how good he's going to be in his second season, but last year he was game manager. He did pretty solid. He had spurts that he did really well. Then we have versus the Green Bay Packers at home, which is probably going to be a Packers home advantage if you ask me, because of course the Packers and they travel well. The Chargers, they love to resell tickets. Then you have at the Raiders, winnable game. Then you have that's a Thursday night. Then you have versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is interesting because it's a home game against the Chiefs. This is also going to be prime time. Then after that, we have the Broncos on the road. It's going to be cold in December. Phil Sember hopefully comes through at the Jaguars, winnable game versus the Vikings. Now, this game against the Vikings, it's going to be hard because the Vikings have a pretty solid defense. Hopefully, by this time, the Vikings' morale has gone down because they're not going to be in the playoff contention and stuff. So, if that's the case, then I'm not scared of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, versus the Raiders is to be decided on 12/22. So, at home against the Raiders, I'm not worried about the Raiders. They're going to be struggling. Then you close it out in Arrowhead at Kansas City, which could be a game deciding who's going to win the division and maybe even a top seed in the NFC and the AFC, which is that's what's hard about it because not only do you have to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs to win the division, you're competing to win the entire conference. Like this is the stuff we're talking about now. The entire conference we're talking about. Last year we both had the same record, 12-4, 12-4, but they had tiebreaker. The Chargers could have avoided this by beating Baltimore, and they ended up losing. So, man, Derwin James, if it could get us to the first 10 weeks. So let's look at the schedule. Winnable games. Colts, it's going to be a tough game. The Colts are a playoff team. It's I give it to the Chargers because we're at home and it's the first game of the season. I feel like the Chargers offense is going to come out hot. So I'll give the Chargers a win here. At the Lions, it's a win. Versus the Texans, it's a tough matchup. The first let's break it down into fours because the NFL season is breaking down. It's always breaking down into four. So the first four games, definitely Chargers go 3-1, if not 4-0, easy. Hopefully, we come out to a hot start. Then you have the next four games. You have versus the Broncos at home, which is always tough because the Broncos, even though they have a inferior roster, they do have that defense. They always play good against the Chargers, a division opponent. They know each other. They know how to get to Philip Rivers. So then you have at the Steelers at home. So that's two tough games. Then you're on the road to Tennessee, and then you're on the road to the Bears. The Chargers could go 2-2 here, putting us at 6-2 to start the season, which could be winnable. It's just like I said, this is really hard. Then you have Packers, Raiders, Chiefs, and Broncos. The Packer game, Aaron Rodgers last time, Philip Rivers put up 500 yards against Aaron Rodgers and they still lost. You have at the Raiders, winnable versus the Chiefs at home. Again, it depends what kind of Charger team's going to show up. By then, you already have Derwin James and you're gearing for the playoff push. Then you have at the Broncos, Mile High City. We won there last year, but they're tough to play at home. They're tough to play either time, so hard for the Denver Broncos. Then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Minnesota Vikings, the Raiders, and the Chiefs. Broncos win, win. You could definitely finish three. So you maybe lose three, maybe four games the entire season, and that's gonna hopefully looking at Kansas City, they're gonna be playing the same opponents you're playing. So if they, I don't know, it's gonna be hard. 12-4 last year. We didn't win the division, so you have to kind of win 13 games if you want to win the division at least, and that's hard enough already. So thank you guys for watching this live stream.